Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how we can update the rates of specific resources within a project estimate. Now this is typically going to be when we want to, for example, update the material rates for a specific project, or if we want to get quotes from subcontractors and compare and apply them to a specific project. Right now I'm inside of the example project that exists in the trial workspace, and we're going to start at the resource module. So we're going to go to estimation here and then to resources. Now, you'll see under resources that we have a full list of all of the resources that we're using in the project, their quantities, their budget rates, and their total cost. Now, firstly, if we wanted to manually update any rates, we can do that in the resource list by simply switching on table edit and then selecting the resource that we want to change the rate for. So let's say, for example, we want to change this to 9.5. We can just type that in there and press enter, and that's going to update that cost for us. When we're done updating, we can just switch table edit off again. Another option is if we want to do a mass update of rates within the resource list, we can import and we can update the resource budget rate column from an Excel file. Right. The other option that we have is to use the request for quotes section within Trimble Quest. Now here, the first step is that you have to define a list of suppliers, or you have to define the suppliers that you typically want to be able to use. Now you'll see here there are two example suppliers, but if you want to add a new supplier, you can simply click on plus add at the bottom, and you can then define the name, contact details, all of that information. Now, of course, if you have a list existing in your master project, then you can simply click on import, and you can import those suppliers from your master costing library. Right, now the next step is to set up a supplier RFQ. So if we go over to supplier RFQ here, we have the option of adding a new supplier RFQ by clicking on plus add at the bottom. That's going to add that for us, and now to edit it, we simply have to go into that RFQ. And then our first step is to define what this is for. So we're going to open the action tab, click on info, and I'm going to just say this is a piping RFQ. Right, now the next step is that we need to add the resources that we want to get quotations for. We're going to click on plus resources at the bottom here. That's going to bring up the resource list for us, and let's filter just for pipes. Right, now see we've got two piping resources here. I'm going to select both of them and add them to the RFQ. Now we'll see now we have these resources with our current quantities and rates. But now typically if we want to send this out to get quotes from suppliers, we don't want to show them our current costs and rates. So we can just switch these off by going to columns and saying switch off my current budget rate and switch off my current net amount. Now this can very easily be dropped to an Excel file by clicking on the print button at the top and then just simply selecting Excel and saying download. And that's going to download that as an Excel file for us, and we can send that out to our suppliers and ask them for quotations. Right, now the next step is that we need to add the suppliers that we're getting quotations from. So we click on suppliers on the action tab, and then we click on attach at the bottom. Now we can select the suppliers that we want to use. You can use as many as you want within an RFQ, but I'm just going to select these two example suppliers. That then adds them to the supplier RFQ, and now the next step is to just input their rates. Now if we got this back in Excel, we could import the rates from Excel, but in this case I'm just going to type in the rates here. So let's just say this is 25 and this is 3 and this is say 22 and 4. Right, so now we have our rates from our suppliers as well as their total costs. Now, if we want to compare these, we can click on totals on the right-hand side. If anybody left anything unquoted, we've got a couple of different options of substituting unquoted rates with minimum or maximum or average rates, just to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. We can also see at the bottom who's cheapest, who's most expensive, etc. And once we're happy, we can apply this RFQ and we can simply say apply comparison. And here we've got the different options to say, I want the lowest quote amongst all the suppliers, I want the lowest quoted total, or I want to go with a specific supplier. I'm going to just go with the lowest quoted total here, and we're going to say apply, and that's going to take the rates from example supplier 1, and it's going to update my current budget rates to those rates. So you'll see if you go back to resources, and we filter for pipes, then those rates have been adjusted there, and this then automatically adjusts the net rate on our project estimate where those materials are being used. So these rates have been updated because that's where we were using those resources. Right, so that's how we will update resource prices for a specific project estimate. And in the next video, I'll show you how we can do the same thing for subcontractors.